Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Politdigm podcast. And my name is Red, and today I am here with my co host, Alpha.
Hello there. Damn it. Hello there.
And here I have my co host and stroke victim, Alpha. All right, so today is the 21st of July, and it's Monday. I don't know. Um, Today, as always, there's the new blog. You should go read that. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. So if you want to get some more deeper information when it comes to like the numbers and stuff like that, make sure to go read it. But yeah, the blog is about well, I called it challenging the trans issue a narrative, and that is because the idea of there being a trans issue is like a very much like a right
Stupid.
wing. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, but there's like very much like a right wing like term that like
Yeah.
wing media uses to like how create this idea that like there is some sort of like epidemic or some sort of
They
like
are transing our children.
yeah, it's like some sort of like disease, right? It's like the trans issue. Whilst I do
Yeah.
agree that there is a trans issue, not with that definition, definitely with the simply with the definition of there is an issue that trans people currently are facing issues. Uh, that's it.
We'll get into it.
Um,
We'll get into it.
but since that is not what people, that's not what the term trans issue means anymore. Unfortunately, don't really don't use that. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, basically, the blog is about how it's very much focused on the U.S. Because, well, whilst there's still a lot of other countries where trans people face issues, literally just before recording this, we read an article about how today Russia, well, Putin signed a law that makes it so that Russian citizens can't get gender affirming surgeries or change their sex on their birth certificate and stuff like that.
Or
So
medical care, or marry, or adopt children, etc.
yeah, so it's basically yeah. This the U.S. is definitely not the only country, but the U.S. of course is the most mainstream, I guess.
Upwards. Yeah.
It's like because like the thing is, there's a lot of countries where there's issue, but like in the U.S. it's like a bro. I don't even know how to describe it. There's like some actual like deranged fucking I don't know
Not
stuff
only
going
that,
on there.
it's the US because of its popularity and how big it is
Yeah.
in our world culture. It's such an outlet of views and news that it has a way bigger impact than country that likes to keep its news a lot more closed in and also has a language that is not as worldwide accessible as
Yeah.
English.
So my main focus was how in the U.S. in the last year, 2023, in the last 7 months, there's been an insane amount of legislation against trans people, and not just trans people, the general queer community as a whole. Obviously, I'll be honest, I wrote that blog like a month ago now, or I don't even remember, maybe less, but I honestly don't remember all the numbers, but it's a lot. I do remember there's statistics like that this year alone, in the first couple of months, there were more anti trans bills than like the last 2 years combined. Stuff like that, which is horrendous when you think about that the year is only a bit more than halfway through, right? So there is definitely a huge like wave of anti-trans rhetoric and anti-trans not settlements.
Yeah.
What's the word? What
Sentiment.
Settlement? If thank you. I was going to go. I was going to say vibe. I mean that works too.
Anti-trans vibe.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the
Yo, I don't like the vibe this guy's putting out. What do you mean, anti-trans? Oh yeah, I get you.
so yeah, it's definitely it's complicated. This year has been insane, and if anybody that if you spend any time on the internet, mostly Twitter, it is honestly disgusting, and honestly mostly with
Yeah.
in Twitter because guess who owns Twitter? Elon Musk. We talked that about in the last episode, and we're going to be talking about that later in this episode too.
Again. Yes,
again
we're
because
topical.
the man gives us news. You know, he gives us things to talk about, and we like shitting on him. So
He pays the bills.
yeah. So how can you judge us?
Yeah,
Um,
don't.
and so it's the Twitter is a big kind of like breeding ground when it comes to like anti-trans rhetoric. There's a immense amount of false like
Information.
stuff information being put out, like the idea that children are having sex change operations, which is not true. There's like these stories of like parents giving like their underage children hormones, which in most cases, at least in the US, we're talking purely in the US here, is not true. That mostly doesn't happen. In other countries, like in the EU, that does happen, but it's again under, you have to do several years of therapy. You need a shit ton of different
You don't just like hop in a pharmacy
yeah.
and
It's
start buying hormones for your kids.
you need like the same way that you need a you need to be fuck what's the word you need what's like
Prescribed?
no, yeah, but like the thing is of like, being diagnosed. You need to be diagnosed with
Oh yeah.
gender dysphoria, which takes about like a year to do. In some countries, others it's less, but generally it is not easy. And this is purely when it comes to children, because, for example, I know that in countries like Germany, if you're an adult, you don't need to have any sort of, you need a prescription, I think, but I don't think you need to actually get diagnosed with gender
Yeah.
dysphoria. But again, with
It's
children,
different.
it's
You're an adult. You're not a
yeah,
child.
then it's like your choice, you do whatever. But with a child, it's more complex, and I agree with that. I think that it
Hmm.
does make sense that obviously there needs to be some sort of guidelines, because a
Yeah.
child, is not old enough to make it their own choices when it comes to like that, and obviously there
And
needs to
not
be
understand the severity of their
yeah.
choices.
So there needs to be some sort of, I wouldn't say pushback, but there needs to be some sort of like a a system in place to make sure that not any crazy motherfucker can do whatever they want. But obviously, the
Yeah.
reality is that doesn't even really happen in general. So it's in a lot of countries, those sort of systems in place are pretty easy to go through. They're not, they're not. It's not like, oh, you need to be in therapy for fucking 5 years and both your parents need to agree with it. No, you just need to have some like,
Yeah.
you need to go to
Which
some stuff. I don't
when
know.
like I remember this from a with a talk with another friend of mine, who also likes politics as and is in fact trans. We were talking. He brought up a very good point, which is like how many stories do we have of especially in like Middle Ages, uh, parents that weren't a child of a certain gender and the child wasn't born with that gender, and so they were just raised as a
Yeah.
girl or a boy.
I mean,
It's not new. It's
there's
not new. And it's like there is a specific court document of, and I find this hilarious because people go by, oh, this is a modern invention and stuff. There is a legal document from a court case in England, if I'm not mistaken, in the 13th century, of a prostitute being caught with a client in a certain part of town because she was not supposed to be able to service there because you were restricted certain zones. And there was an issue with that. Now, in fact, her client was male and she had been assigned the male gender at birth. But that wasn't an issue at all. You barely could find it in the documents. The only place where you could notice it was that there was a different name when it came to the name given at birth and the current used name. So they were a lot more chill about it than we are.
I mean, there's trans people have existed through the entire history of humanity.
Queer people have existed through the
There's
entire history of humanity.
there's been thousands of examples. There's, for example, there was a technically there was a trans Egyptian pharaoh that was I believe a fab, so assigned female at
Yeah,
birth, who then, when they became a pharaoh, wanted to be treated and identified as a male. There's examples of, for
you know what?
example,
Extremely based.
Yeah. Basically every if you go to look back in the history of almost every like obviously if you go nitpicking you're not going to find in everyone but in every larger like culture in the past of humans, right? There has always been a concept of either there being a third gender or there being multiple genders or there being some sort of gender fluidity. It was only
Yeah.
with Christians that basically that changed, and with colonialism, everything got fucked because
Yeah.
basically, like indigenous people in America, they had stuff known as two spirited, and they frequently were very gender fluid and stuff like that. Even in places like India, there was stuff like that. I think that
Yeah.
in China there was. I mean, depends on obviously what you
China was
consider.
also extremely gay.
It depends on what you consider China, since the
Like,
concept of China has changed territory so much that it's kind of hard to put
there's
a nail
literally
on it. But
a myth in China of the current emperor. This was way back, I think like 1,000 years ago or something. It's an early dynasty of a Chinese emperor uh, falling asleep. And when he woke up, he saw that one of his ministers and his boyfriend was sleeping undisturbed, resting on his sleeve. So, as to not disturb his boyfriend, the emperor cut off his luxurious sleeve and wore a sleeveless jacket vest for the rest of the day. And after that, the sleeveless vest became a symbol for homosexuality in the Chinese courts. I mean,
it's
you
pretty
know
weird.
Caesar, right?
Yeah,
You know Caesar, the guy.
yeah.
The Romans literally had a military chant about how he would boink all the women and all their husbands.
I mean, yeah, people were pretty
Yeah. People have been
sexually.
people as long as people were people.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Is like it's been a staple of it's part of humanity. It's part of who
Look
we
at the
are.
Greeks. Look at the Greeks.
Yeah, so it's a fundamental part of who what of us of humans, and so this idea that it's suddenly a new thing, which it isn't. That's the first issue, and then the second issue, in my opinion, is that then you use these outdated sort of morals and ideas, which aren't technically even up to date with what like their religions say, right?
Yeah.
Because like there's nothing in the Bible that says that like homosexuality is a sin. That just isn't. I'll be
You know
honest.
what I found that is a big problem with the interpretation of the Bible is I've come to the knowledge that the major problems that we have faced historically of interpretations from the Bible come from the different books of the Bible, a
Yeah,
lot of which weren't accepted into the biblical canon. That was also the book that was basically the religious foundation. One of the books that was used as a religious foundation for the Nazis was a book that was supposed to enter the biblical canon but wasn't accepted. Where basically, you know that Christ was on a cross, but while he was on a cross, there were other two people next to him. If I'm not mistaken, one of them was a thief, or they were both thieves. I don't remember. But I do know that in this version, one of them asked to go to heaven. He said that they would, but the other guy was going straight to hell because he was Jewish, which is hilarious, because Jesus was Jewish,
yeah, Jesus was
and
Jewish
so
too.
were his apostles.
So yeah, but yeah, going back to what we're talking about,
Yeah.
there's this huge like idea in the U.S. and even in other countries, where it's basically like religious based hate, right? Which is funny because then obviously if you want to if you want to stay in that realm, which is not something you really should, but if you want to
Yeah.
stay in that realm and be like, all right, if that's true, then why is it that like for example your pope, right, the person who's supposed to represent your god on earth, is then so like progressive and always is like advocating for trans people for the queer community. Obviously, I'll be honest. I don't know if he says that for PR reasons. I don't care. He still says it regardless. So you
Yeah,
know.
he's going back on his word.
So
By the
it's
way,
yeah.
that man should go and should be replaced by someone who is even left or wing with.
I mean, should it be replaced by no one? But that's another issue. Because there shouldn't be a
Yeah.
pope, but whatever.
You know
Uh,
what? I really like the Dalai Lama and his pedophilic actions.
yeah, that was creepy. That was the creepiest
It
part
was
wasn't
disgusting.
the creepiest part wasn't even what the Dalai Lama did. Was the people that were trying to justify
Yeah.
what he did. That was like, no, just
It's a
assume. Like,
child.
yeah.
Oh yeah, let me just grope you. It's a joke, I swear.
No, it's a cultural thing, which then was like proven of like, no, this
The
is
what
not a
now?
cultural thing. Anyways,
The what now?
I don't know. It was like people were being like, yeah, it's like part of their culture to like suck on people's tongues, but then I was like, no, that's not a thing. There's like people who
That's
actually
not a greeting. That's not a greeting.
that's like how
Yeah.
people that actually knew about like that culture were like, no, that's not a thing. Anyways, back to
I
what I was
find that like the best excuse ever. Oh, this is horrible. It's just their culture, you uncultured swine. And so what? Even if it is just their culture, should we respect everything?
anyways, back to
It's their culture to maim women and children and ban transgender forming surgeries. Oh, it's our culture. Let them be.
back to what I was saying, right? So Twitter has been this huge breeding ground when it comes to this false information. When it comes to surrounding the trans community, it's insane. Like it all started with the whole drag queen thing, which is one of my favorite concepts because there's consistently a new sort of tradition in Twitter, which is whenever there's a story or an article posted about how a right wing person or like an extremist, like probably sexually assaulted a bunch of women or murdered a couple of women or some children, stuff like that, right? Then the comments just say, "Wasn't a drag queen, by the way." You know, it's true.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and in fact, that's. I mean, I find it funny because like that was like the whole idea of like yeah, like drag queens are sexualizing children, which they aren't. This it's just a an act, right? It's it's an act, and that's about it.
That's
Like you
a
can't
good
really.
description, but I guess I understand what you're saying. Like, doing drag is just another way of someone expressing themselves.
Yeah,
Like, would you describe fucking samba or salsa, those forms of dancing, as sexualizing children? I wouldn't take my child to a salsa concert, but
you wouldn't go to a salsa concert to
saying
begin with.
kids.
You wouldn't go to a salsa concert to begin with, but that's another issue. But
I
yeah,
have no
but it all
partner.
it all it all started with this idea of selling the idea that drag queens are all groomers, right? Then
Jesus.
that evolved into trans people being groomers,
Yeah.
right? And now there's this huge like culture online about how there should be the LGB community, right, without the T. There's an account on Twitter known as Gays Against Groomers, which is essentially like this right wing account, right? That's like supposed to be like, oh, we are gay, right? We're like our sexuality is like queer and stuff, but we don't accept trans people.
Which I think is hilarious because any right winger worth their salt would look at them and say, yeah, no, fuck you guys.
No, because like then obviously right wingers are going along with it because for
Yeah,
them it's a positive thing, right? Because at the end of the day, they also hate they hate the entire queer community. It's not just trans people,
yeah.
right?
I
So
you know what? It's just sorry for stopping you again, but I I despise that attitude of being like, oh no, we're not the problem. It's those guys.
but basically, what right wing media is doing is basically saying like, oh no, we love gay people, we love gay
Yeah,
people, we love lesbians, we love all of
we love
those
black
things.
people.
But it's just that we hate trans people, right? Trans people are the worst. They're the ones, sexualizing minors, doing all these other things. But then you come into the other issue, which is now what is starting to happen is that now that, the whole wave of hating on trans people has not died down, it definitely hasn't died down, but it's kind of hit its plateau in a way, which
Yeah.
I'll talk about in a sec. Now the rest of the queer community is also getting started to be affected, and people are like, wait, hold on, wait a second. Why aren't you stopping? Like, why are you, weren't you, was it just
You
trans
were
people?
supposed to stop.
But yeah, like when I mean by like hitting a plateau, I mean that like it's reached a point where basically they've um, tried to essentially normalize assaulting trans people, right? Which
Yeah.
is a really bad thing because what's happening is that it's not just affecting trans people, it's affecting everybody, and that is a big thing in this whole conversation. Is that this is not just affecting the queer community, it's not just affecting the trans community, it's affecting everybody. Why? Because guess what? You can't really look at a person and be like, "Oh, you're this." You rarely can do that, and if and you can obviously you can do that regardless, but you can rarely do that and actually get it right. So that just the other day, I read an article that an 80-year-old woman was assaulted by a man because the man thought that she was trans, when in fact she wasn't.
Yeah.
And there's many stories like this where there are people being attacked, people being killed because because they're killer or they're what's it called, they're
Suspected of
yeah,
being.
suspected them of being trans. Another example, which is something that I don't remember where I talked about. I don't even think I talked about this anywhere publicly. But another issue is that, for example, when it comes to schools, there was, for example, I forget which state it was, but there was a state where they passed where they're trying to pass a law where trans kids couldn't be school athletes, right?
Yeah.
And guess how many trans athletes, like children trans athletes, there were in that single state in the U.S. Guess how many?
Like 100?
One. There was one girl.
Really?
They were passing an entire law to fuck over
For
one girl.
one girl?
Yes.
That's despicable.
And then not only that is then they're also passing laws where they are allowed to examine children's genitalia to try to prove that they aren't trans. So how does
The
that work?
hell?
The way that works is, which is something that actually sort of happened recently, is that, for example, imagine like you're at a baseball game, right? And
Yeah.
suddenly one of the parents goes, "Hey, that one girl is not an actual girl. Obviously in their eyes, that girl is not a girl. That is a boy dressed up as a girl. You must prove it now that that isn't a boy dressed up as a girl. So let's pull. Obviously, it's in private,
Oh
regardless.
my
But let's
fucking
pull their
god.
pants down and examine what genitalia they have to make sure that they have the genitalia that their visuals are trying to portray. Obviously, this doesn't just affect trans kids because guess what? Trans kids are a minority, and the majority are cis children. So in the most cases, this is going to affect cis kids a lot. And
Imagine as like a child, someone pulling you to the side and just
yeah,
saying, "Hey kid, I don't think you're whatever you're saying you are. Come here, let me prove it."
obviously, it's not going to be that exactly like that. Obviously
Of course,
we're
I'm
exaggerating a little bit,
exaggerating.
but the issue is that you're essentially creating laws and you're creating an infrastructure in a way
You're setting a
that
precedent.
you are, yeah, you're setting a precedent, and not just that, you're creating laws which first of all make it much easier for perverted little fucks to use that
Yeah.
against against children's
Just bare facts, I think.
well-being. And not only that is that then you have, this is exactly the same issue where it comes to, hey, what I was speaking about, how this older woman was attacked, then it's the exact same issue with these kids being inspected, which is it, pardon me, as long as you suspect that this person is trans, anything goes apparently, right? And
It does not.
that
I can
is
tell you it does not.
yeah, of course it doesn't. Like that's the issue.
It's not how
But
it works.
But in the eyes of these people, it is. And that is really bad. That is really bad because, again, it not only puts trans people in danger, puts everybody in danger. Because guess what?
Yeah.
There are cis women who have slightly more masculine features, which will be targeted. There are cis men who have slightly more feminine characteristics, which will be targeted. There are
Imagine the public humiliation of. Imagine if I'm going to a specific scenario here, but imagine you're someone who is already insecure about your body
yeah.
because you think you're it's too masculine or too feminine, etc. And someone just says to you, "Hey, I don't think you are what you're saying you are, so we gotta check that out."
Yeah, and so it's It's
It's
awful.
beyond humiliating.
It's not just humiliating. It's the nope, that's not how you say it.
That's not the word.
It's the no, it's inhumane. There you go. It's basically like treating anybody that you suspect to be trans as like, oh, you now must go under my my investigation.
I was gonna say what you're gonna say there, but
No, because like
yeah.
there's been this thing for years in the internet called known as trans investigations or some shit like that, which is these crazy fuckers, right, who go on these insane tangents on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, where they post a known celebrity or whatever, and then are like, all right, this like I saw one was which was like Margot Robbie, right? Or and like Dua Lipa, which is like, all right, they have slightly more pronounced jaw lines and they have slightly broader shoulders. They're taller than most women.
Yes, the
These
trans.
are men. These are two
Oh my
men, and I'm
god.
like, oh my fucking god, are
People
you
are stupid.
insane? And it's funny because then the
Yes.
type of people who does this, which is like the most known trans investigator out there, is J.K. Rowling, the writer of the Harry
Oh
Potter
yeah.
books, who
I hate that
famously
woman.
is a very if you go to the if you go to look at good old stereotypes, which you should never do, but if you look at the stereotype of a feminine woman, she herself does not fit in, right? There
Yeah.
was this there. Oh god, that was so funny. There was this like picture of that she like posted on Twitter or some shit, which was like this like anti-trans like poster or something, which was like showing the side profile of like a trans woman or some shit, trying to show like, oh, this is not a woman, this is a man. And then somebody found a side profile picture of J.K. Rowling, and I kid you not, they lined up perfectly. I'm not even.
That's fucking
It
hilarious.
was fucking perfect, and everybody was like, "You dumb fuck, like,
You
you,
whore. You
you,
hoe.
you are
Ugh.
dumb." Like it's so funny because
You depraved human being.
there
Shame
was
on you.
there was a while where I remember there like a couple of years ago hearing this like idea of like, oh, how can I be homophobic? I'm not
No, bitch
afraid.
is
I'm
gay.
not, no, bro, fuck, alpha.
I'm
It's like
sorry.
it's like how can I be homophobic if I'm not scared of gay people? How can I be transphobic if I'm not scared of trans
That's
people?
not how it works.
But no, but the thing is, lately it does seem to work like that because these people are genuinely. It's like it genuinely because like example arachnophobia, right? It's an irrational fear of spiders, but
Yeah.
these people generally have an irrational fear of trans people, right? Like it's
Uh,
come to that point where these people are genuinely like they'll see a trans person and they will lose their fucking minds and act the same way they act as when they see a spider.
she's transing me. I'm sorry. It's. Uh, I I
But
to
they're
this day I say that most people's fear come from a place of lack of
insecure
education
and insecurity
and insecurity.
because like
But I also think that it has come to a point where people are so brain rotten and are
yeah,
so paranoid of everything that if you look, if someone which you believe is in a higher position than you and has some kind of authority over you just points at a group and says, hey kid, you see
hate
these people?
hate them.
They're the reason why your life's going to shit. Hate
Yeah,
them, beat them up. You see that trans woman? Yeah, that's the reason why your husband doesn't love you anymore.
yeah.
You
That's.
see that trans man? That's the reason why your husband doesn't love you anymore.
Do you ever look in? Sorry. Do
You
you
see that black man? That's why your wife doesn't like
are
having sex with you
you a
anymore.
blood-born American and you drive an F-150 and you look at a man and you get a hard willy, then it's not your fault. It's the trans woman that lives next to you. Bro, I saw this. I was watching TikToks
Thinking
last
that
night and
fuck's gay.
I was watching TikToks last night and I saw this TikTok
I don't.
which was like it was like from this British show or some shit. And there was this motherfucker who said like that the that when boys work out, it like eases their homosexual tendencies. And I was like, what the fuck?
When the boys work out, it makes their homosexual tendencies go higher.
And I saw somebody
Have you
like,
ever seen men at the gym?
yeah, it's just men looking at other sweaty men. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
gayer than a gym. Just a bunch of sweaty men
There
hanging out
is
with each other.
nothing hotter than two fit gay men.
Whoa, you see hotter?
Nothing more masculine is what I meant.
Yeah,
Shit.
sure.
I said it right.
That's what you meant, Alpha. That's what you meant. Yeah, sure. Uh,
Like, if you
right.
look at the Greeks, those guys were fit as hell.
They did have tiny penises, which is funny
That was the
because
pattern of beauty, which I think is
small
hilarious.
little wee wee, small little pee
Yeah.
pees.
I
And
also saw like someone go on a tangent about being a wife and saying like, "Hey gents, okay, listen up. Penises over 6 inches hurt. You are within the average. Be okay with it."
fuck.
And I was like,
Anyways,
okay. Unwarranted pride has been received.
I think that's enough for the blog section. I wanted to talk about another thing, which we were talking about
X,
something. No, I mean we could talk about that, but that's not what I was going to talk about.
Spanish elections,
No, not the Spanish elections. No, it was something that we
Spanish
talked about
imposition.
during this whole tangent that reminded me of something, and I was like, oh, that's a genius topic to talk about. Um,
Uh, there's
shit.
a lot of things. Can you specify?
Yeah, that's the issue. I don't remember. So we talked about. Oh, I know. I was thinking about the range transphobes, and then I remembered Ben Shabibo,
Oh,
right?
Ben Shapiro,
Ben
your
Shabibo.
favorite small penis, not small penis, a small ego, insecure looking ass who
Can't
claims to be a
please his
Jew,
wife looking ass.
who
Uh,
likes femboys.
well, I think that's you.
Have you ever seen like his
Uh,
videos of him reacting to femboys?
no,
Like,
I don't actually. I never
some
watched.
burst.
I've never watched like first hand a Ben Shapiro video
Me neither, but have you
because I
like
refuse.
seen people react to him watching femboy
No, I
content?
don't think I'm actually
Which I
surprisingly.
think is hilarious because he's like almost salivating over it.
Yo, the closest I've come to watching a like solo or like an actual Ben Shapiro video was the video that he did with Neil deGrasse Tyson, which the only reason I watched it was because of the fact that I knew
He's
that
Neil
Neil
deGrasse
deGrasse.
Tyson.
It's like that one astrophysicist who does like
Yeah.
the has like the one. Oh, did you ask me who it was or
No, I know who Neil deGrasse
oh, bro,
Tyson is.
I don't know why I thought. Never mind. But like I was like, yeah. This is good. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson does have like some weird. I won't say he has weird takes. He's like very. How do I say this? He has like most. I agree with like most things when it comes to like space and the way that he like thinks about the universe. But he's like, there's some shit that he says which like makes it sound like he's high on something. And I'm like, what are you on right now? What the fuck are you talking about? But anyways, I was like listening to him talk about. I think they literally talked about trans people and I'm like listening to Neil, and I'm there like, yeah, yeah, fuck you, Ben, fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyways, we were talking about something when we were talking about the that wife thing or whatever, and I was thinking like how like famously like Ben has like said that he like can pleasure his wife or some shit. I don't know if that's a joke or an actual thing,
Yeah.
but then I remember that 3 days ago that Barbenheimer or Barbie and Oppenheimer came out
Oh yeah.
and that he watched both of them. And then he apparently brought a notebook to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer, which already is a red flag, and then made a whole video about the two, and
Oh god.
saying how well, first of all, saying that Oppenheimer and Barbie were woke, which is funny because like, I
How
mean,
is Oppenheimer? Uh,
I
oh
mean,
no! It's woke to feel bad about killing thousands of people with your nuclear bomb.
yeah, I don't know, no, it was justifiable. For his eyes was all justifiable because
It's because it's made
uh,
by Christopher Nolan. He doesn't like Christopher Nolan for some reason.
But I mean, I think you know this. Like Ben Shapiro is a Phelan like screenplay writer, right? So like he
Yeah.
used to be a writer for Hollywood. Apparently, he was so shit that nobody wanted his shit. So now anything that has any sort of success in Hollywood, he's like angry.
Woke.
He's like, yeah, I could have been me. You
The reason why
fucking
I couldn't do it is because they only accept woke stuff. It's because I'm shit.
yeah. So yeah, he's a little gremlin, and
Yeah.
he uh, uh, uh bro, it was so funny because like there's this picture where he's like holding his notebook, his little notebook, or it actually looks pretty big next to him, and he's like holding it. It was like probably an A4 notepad, but I like to think it was an A5 notepad. He was just like really small, and he's like standing to like this Barbie, like those, it's like those cardboard cutouts they have like at the cinema sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was like standing in front of one with like the big pink bee for Barbie, and he's there
Oh
like,
my
and
god.
he's dressed up in this like,
And Ben, it's B for Ben Shapiro.
and he's like fully dressed in black, which is funny because there's this one scene. I haven't watched Barbie, but there's this apparently this
I
one
have.
scene, where Ken, right, Ryan Gosling, or I think all the Kens are wearing
Yeah.
these like black shirts and black
They're
pants,
dancing.
and he's wearing that exact same outfit,
Oh my god.
which is
Okay, so you
funny because
haven't
it's
watched
like,
Barbie, right?
huh?
You haven't watched Barbie, as you already said.
Yeah, or
So,
Oppenheimer.
well, I watched both in the same day, which was awesome. By the way, they're both great in their respective ways.
But yeah, I
Uh,
mean, from my
and
understanding, Barbie is like a commentary on like the
yeah,
patriarchy
it's
and stuff like that.
exactly.
So,
So I wanted to share with you on that scene where all the cans are wearing a black shirt and pants. They are singing this song.
I got you about to sing.
I'm just Ken. Doesn't matter to what I do. I'm always number two. No one knows how hard I try. I have feelings that I can't explain, driving me insane. All my life been so polite, but I sleep alone tonight. And here's the best part, 'cause I'm just Ken. Anywhere else, I'd be a 10.
What the fuck?
Is it my destiny to live and die a life of blonde fragility? I'm just Ken. Where I see love, she sees a friend.
I really hope we
What
don't
will
get
it take
copyrighted.
for her to see the man behind the tent and fight for me?
I really hope we don't
So
get
who would have
copyrighted.
thought? Okay, I'm sorry. So who would have thought that misogyny and the patriarchy come from a place of insecurity? Oh
Oh.
wowzers!
Anyways,
Basic. It's
yeah,
like all the cans feel insecure because they don't do anything, and so they just become
assholes.
extremely assholes and misogynistic, and they're
Yeah.
like drive like leather with leather jackets and hats and like horses. They literally like
So,
pretend to ride horses to places, and everything has like a horse hoof or something.
anyways,
Because they
uh,
didn't just do patriarchy, patriarchy with horses.
I okay. How can patriarchy get any better? Patriarchy with
Horse.
horses. Anyways,
That's literally what Alino he says. Like,
what the
I
fuck?
never thought patriarchy would be better, and then I saw horses. You wanna know why? Because you saw policemen on the horses in the street.
The fuck? Anyways,
That movie is great.
I saw this morning that apparently, Richie Sunak, right, the Prime Minister of the UK, went to watch
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, and I do believe that that movie must hit a little different when you yourself are a person who can cause that amount of destruction.
Yeah.
I really hope that movie like did something to
Yeah.
him. I hope that really.
The biggest compliment I could give to Oppenheimer was I never felt so much hate towards like nuclear nations, like look nuclear powers as I did after I watched the movie.
Oh, I definitely don't have to watch the movie to feel that hate. I don't know. It's always been like,
No, it's
it's
always something that's been a part of me, but it was amplified like by the factor of 5 this time.
it's like one of the dumbest things humanity has ever done is build a weapon that can wipe ourselves
Tactical
out.
nuke
What the
incoming.
fuck? It's like, what are it's like, yeah, let's build something. Like no other being on this planet has built the like it's like a rat so doesn't build a fucking rat trap.
Oh shit!
A
Oh
rat,
red.
like a mouse doesn't make a mouse trap, then why the fuck did we make nukes? Anyways, let's move on from that topic.
Because we
Let's.
have small penises.
What? Okay,
That's
you
basically the
did not
best way I
have.
can explain
You
it.
didn't have to. You didn't have to expose us like that. I know you were talking about general humanity, but we do have small penises on this podcast. I mean, what? I didn't say anything.
I wasn't aware of this information.
I wasn't aware of this information until I looked at the mirror 5 minutes ago. Anyways, what the fuck am I talking about? But yeah,
Men.
before you man, before we were talking about the Twitter,
Yeah.
technically that's false because as of today,
Technically, it's false.
Elon,
Sorry, just the way you say that
well,
word.
actually,
Actually, it's
actually,
false.
it's not called Twitter anymore. It's called X.com
Oh my
because
god, please stop. Please, please. I
Daddy
was
Elon,
joking.
Daddy
It's,
Elon is
it's,
very smart. Sorry.
it's not.
So Elon Cook, he
The cuck.
who
The Zucker the cuck. Yeah.
yeah, he wants to change. He doesn't want. He has changed the name of Twitter to X, simply the letter X. Which, as a person myself who is currently doing a marketing course, who is getting a well, I don't even know what it classifies as, but like essentially like a lower degree in marketing and communications.
Yeah.
That is one of the dumbest fucking things you can ever do. First of all, Twitter is a household name. Everybody knows what Twitter is. Everybody knows what a tweet is. It's literally like one of those things that's become so infamous that it's like become a word that you say. And so now this motherfucker has decided that, hey, what's like the smartest thing to do? Oh, it's take one of the most infamous social media platforms and change it to the letter X, which, by the way, if you didn't know, is like one of his wet dreams, essentially, because back in like 2001 or some shit, when he tried to take over, or I guess tried to take over. No, he had X.com or some shit, and then there was PayPal. They merged. It was merged into simply PayPal, right? And then
Yeah.
he wanted to, like, when he was CEO, he wanted to change the name to X.com, but then I believe the shareholders were like, "Go fuck yourself," and then
Good.
he removed him as the CEO. So he has been trying to have a website called X.com for about 2 decades, right? So it's like this weird wet dream he has. He has SpaceX, he has the Tesla Model X, he has his son, which his first name starts with the letter fucking X, because I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
his name sounds like a computer glitch.
and it's, yeah, it's now he's finally done it. He's turned
Why did
Twitter.
I just say his name's Son? Oh my god.
What?
I said his name's Son instead of his son's name.
I don't know, bro.
School, man. The exam fucked me up.
So I yeah, he did that, which is great. He then proceeded to change the logo into an X, which is from a font, from like a, I forget what it's called, what it's the name is called, but it's like one of those base fonts, which I don't believe he even really, I don't even believe he probably paid the like the fee you need to be able to do that or some shit. I don't even know. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I saw a lot of people being like, this is not even like a custom logo. You literally just went and wrote the letter X with a font, right? It's worse than what Avatar did.
Hilarious.
Um, and so it did that. Then, if you didn't know, he also changed the parent company of Twitter because it was like Twitter, probably like Twitter LLC or some shit like that, right? And then it's called X Corp, as in the same
Oh,
name
okay.
as in the abbreviation of the DC Universe company called LexCorp,
Oh my god.
which is cool. That's not scary, right?
You're
When
joking, right? Please tell me you're
I'm
joking.
not joking, like
You're not joking.
Lex Corporation is also known
The
as
lack
X Corp.
of self-awareness needed to do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna name myself out of the supervillain company.
I don't think he did that. I don't think he intentionally did that because I don't think he knows really, or I don't know. Maybe he did, but yeah, Lex Corp, X Corp. It's
That is hilarious.
and
Like, that's
so,
sad and
which
hilarious.
is funny because like Lex Luthor is known to be a very nice guy who like definitely
Yeah, he
doesn't
only
just,
commits a few war crimes.
yeah, and like it's pretends to do good things so that his like war crimes don't get discovered, which is cool, which is cool.
Yeah,
Um,
like everyone knows that your actions, the outcome justifies the actions,
yeah. So
right?
basically, the point is I'm trying to make is that that crazy motherfucker Elon Cuck, I refuse to call him by Musk. Elon Cuck,
Ikak,
Elon Cuck.
leku.
He has made this, he has had this idea to turn Twitter into an everything program, right? He wants to do a like Chinese Communist Party type of vibe where he wants to create an app that does everything. Oops, pardon me.
Oh, whoa.
Now, the issue with that is, first of all, that's been tried before, and it's not
It
worked.
doesn't work.
Guess who tried it? Meta. Didn't work because guess
Yeah.
what? There's systems in place in politics and other stuff that simply make it so it doesn't work. And secondly, there's just generally like any marketing person that you will ever talk to you will tell you that if you don't have a market, if your market is just go what is your market, and you go everything,
Uh,
everyone, I target everyone and everything. Like, no, you
you're
can't.
always going to alienate something.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to advertise to the whole planet without targeting somebody, because if nobody can, if you make something where everybody can relate to, most likely nobody can relate to it. And even if somebody can relate to it, it's definitely not everybody. So
I don't want to
that's,
be in the same group as like a right-wing person.
yeah,
I don't
like
want to share
how
their
it's
platform.
like how can you make an like how can you make a company which currently the way that it is a how can you make an app which is a fascist's wet dream, and then say
Yeah.
that it's for everybody and it's for for everything. It's a contradiction. It's you can't really do that,
It is
right?
not. It doesn't work like that.
And so he wants to do that. He wants to do that in the funniest way possible because he wants to do that. But then you need to also consider that, oh, didn't he like fire like a shit ton of the people
Half of
that
his
work for him?
staff.
So like, how the hell is he gonna make an app, right? That's like that big of an ambitious project with like fucking nobody. That's one issue.
Yeah.
It's not financially viable because he's currently in shambles, and recently tried to like did like the whole payout thing where he's like, yeah, buy you. It's like kind of like YouTube, right? Where it's like per view, I pay you an X amount,
Yeah.
and he did that with like people. I don't even remember if you like have to pay for Twitter Blue or where the fuck it works, but
I think
like,
you have like 7 euros or something like that.
yeah, but like there's like people who are like making thousands of dollars. And I'm like, how the fuck is this guy who's like in shambles financially trying to make some sort of sense and trying to somehow make Twitter like financially viable, just giving away these thousands of dollars? Like it's, yeah, I don't know. It's something isn't adding up.
Rumors of corruption.
And so yeah, Twitter or X is really going downhill because you have a person who has a huge ego, right? Elon has a massive ego and is not really self-aware enough to
Yeah.
understand that he one
The
is
only
not capable.
thing rivals the size of his ego is the lack of size of his dick.
What the fuck? Yeah, all his dick size went to his fucking ego.
Yeah.
And so it's I mean, I don't care. Although I use
The
Twitter
dick
every
size.
day, I don't care in the sense that it's not like, it's not like the thing we were talking about before, how, like about how trans people are being, getting attacked and shit like that. That's an actual issue. A billionaire losing billions of dollars and a shitty app going to shit. Okay, whatever. It's not really a big deal. It is, however, funny to think that, circling back to the trans people, that all of this sort of started when his ex-wife,
His
Grimes,
ex-wife.
his ex-wife,
His
s-
wax-wife.
did I say that?
Yeah, his wax-wife.
Fuck, his ex-wife, Grimes, slept with a trans woman,
Oh my god, that's
and
hilarious.
he lost his shit, and then that's like how he wanted her to get banned on Twitter, but he couldn't get banned. She wouldn't be banned on Twitter because he had nothing, no control. And then proceeded to joke about buying Twitter. Then made an offer. Then he was obligated to uh
Yeah,
to like
it's
go
like
for
4 times the original price of it, which I think
yeah.
is it's so good.
He's like
He works at the
he was forced to essentially go through with that offer, and then now he has bought a platform for $44 billion and it has lost like two-thirds of its value. So that's cool. Go Grimes, I guess. Pretty weird person too, but
I never the amount of time it took me to understand that Grimes was the name of an actual person.
I mean that's her. I don't think that's her actual legal name. That's pretty sure
Yeah, I
that's
hope
just her
not.
artistic name. But
What's your name? Grimes.
Grimes. My name is Grimes.
Grimes.
Last name. Last name nothing. Just Grimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah. Rich people are fucking stupid,
I
and
hate.
yeah, it's great. It's great to see that
If
Elon
someday I
is.
become rich, I'm gonna hate myself more than I already
No,
do.
the thing is, like, you can be rich without being a
Being a
massive cunt.
bitch.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's like, oh, this whole concept of like, oh yeah, money corrupts you. No, no,
Yeah,
no.
people
That's
corrupt themselves.
Yeah, money. If you are prone, if you are like predetermined, like your mind is like been designed, or you grew up in a way where you will easily get sort of corrupted by money, then yeah, it'll corrupt you. But if you have strong morals and you actually care about people, then it will never corrupt you. And most of the times, the only reason why corrupt people make so much money is not because money corrupted them, is because they were already corrupt,
You're a
and that
bitch.
helps them make the money. Because
Exactly.
like if you have no morals, and you're willing to do whatever the fuck for money, then nothing is really stopping you. So it's much easier to make money because there's a lot of systems in place that aren't stopping you anymore
Yeah.
compared
Look,
to
I
the
just came up with
planet.
a trade phrase. Be rich, just don't be a bitch. Ah, ah,
Sure.
ah.
Okay.
No. Okay.
But yeah, it's
I'll see myself out.
yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I hate that, like, people think that, like, oh, but Elon, he's rich, so he must be smart, or he must be doing
It's
something
not how
right.
it works.
It's like he's
We've talked about this already.
yeah,
Richness does not equal brain power. It equals to luck. There are a
yeah,
lot of
like
smart and hardworking people that are dirt poor.
yeah, and we know a lot of them. I mean, most people know a lot of them because they're all around us.
Look
It's
at me. I'm an idiot cunt, and I am extremely, extremely privileged.
and I'm extremely rich.
I'm not extremely
Sorry,
rich, but I'm
joking.
extremely privileged.
Yeah, like it's so yeah. I don't know. Just people, dumb people, and I fucking hate Elon Musk dick riders. They're so annoying. Oh my god, I feel like there's
Yeah.
dick riders are more annoying than him.
Like,
Holy shit.
dick riding is never good. Dick riding people that don't deserve it is even worse.
Only dick ride your significant others. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, and even that, you gotta pull like a uh only dick ride your partners.
shit, I'm yawning. Oh,
The what
sorry.
now?
I was yawning.
Oh, I could tell.
But yeah, no, yeah. So that
That's
was.
basically it.
I mean, no, we still have some minutes left. We can still talk
No,
about
when
other
it
stuff.
comes to the Elon Musk topic.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely enough. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't really have the patience to talk more about Elon. I mean, there's other stuff we could talk about him, but I don't
I
feel like
wanna
talking.
I wanna introduce a topic
Sure, go ahead.
completely nothing to do with everything we just talked about.
Okay.
School.
Oh God.
Cause oh my god. Okay, so I also know you have some strong opinions about this,
Hmm.
but I am not the biggest fan of our school system. I know, shocker.
I mean, most school systems, yeah,
Yeah.
like they're pretty much all the same. Like,
Yeah. I recently had the pleasure of reading a book called The Red Student's Guidebook or something. The Small Red Student's Guidebook. It was original from Sweden, then was released first in New Mexico, was banned in a lot of countries because it goes from everything when it comes to students, from classroom etiquette to drugs and sex.
nice.
It's legit like a school guide. And one of the things that I saw the most in the book was how much my own opinions were reflected on it.
Hmm.
First of all, here in Portugal, we have a lack of students because no one wants to work as students, teachers, because no one wants to be a teacher.
Hmm.
You are horribly paid, you work terrible hours, and
And children are cunts. Like,
yeah, children suck. Oh my god!
uh,
If I if they legalized firearms in Portugal, I would not blink. So
Jesus
please,
Christ. What the
I am
fuck?
I am half joking. Half. No, I'm completely
Mm,
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I swear. Don't put me on a watch list. But going back to being serious again. Being a teacher in Portugal is one of the most ungrateful jobs ever. So what did the government do? Oh, let's lower the necessity to being a teacher. So you no longer need to take a special academic path to become a teacher. You just
mhm.
need 3 months of specialization and then there you go. Which is a horrible way to solve the problem. Um,
Yeah, it's fixing a problem short term.
Yeah, and it comes with the problem of the school itself.
Yeah.
Our schools are designed to produce, not in equal amounts, um, working class and the other, like higher class, I think, which I'm not higher class because blue collar jobs literally run the country, but the academic class of students, let's say. It's the
Mhm.
best way I can explain it. So, our students have the job to produce, again, not in equal amounts, far from it, people to work the blue collar jobs and people to work like the higher academic jobs, which is, uh, how do I say this? Extremely wrong. Because from the get go, you have a system that is rigged to filter through the only ones which they deem are worth being in these high position jobs. It's not that they deserve it, it's that they manage, a lot of them do, but most of the time it's that they were capable of exploiting the given flaws in the system.
Yeah.
You go to a subject and it's rare the teacher that puts in the work to try and make you understand.
Yeah.
And why? Because a school does not offer um, the same right, does not offer a system that allows everyone or most people to be able to have the same types of performance. Someone that has a stabler social economic life has such a huge advantage over anyone else because just from school itself, school is one of the most stressful places you can be in. School is notoriously a horrible social environment with horrible social pressures put onto you. Those being like in terms of group thinking, the way you dress, the way you act, where you are at a given school, the type of people you hang out with, not and that's all without getting into the fact that you also have to worry about the fact that you are basically dictating your future within a system that sucks.
Yeah.
So if you already have a worse background when it comes to social economic factors, you are already boned. But
Yeah.
then you also have all the aids outside of school, which usually is there to help you, which you don't have any access to because you don't have enough money or time or a family that cares to put you through those things. And school doesn't care either. Like, it's not their job to make you an upstanding citizen. It's their job to have high number rankings, which only happens when the school itself plays the game that's already been in place.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, like, there's all this debate about private and public school.
Mhm.
And this is my opinion, but I think it's a very common opinion. Private school is not better than public school.
No, it's not.
Private school makes life easier.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Your child gets higher grades, good. Put them in a public school for one day and watch them cry.
Yeah.
Because the amount of work that they have to do to be able to pass and to be able to have the grades that they need and to be able to try and retain all of the subjects that are being taught in an extreme rush because once again teachers don't have enough time and the programs are stupendously and abhorrently long for what they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
and are taught in the worst ways possible. Like, I have a friend, he's extremely good at math, like 20s at math out
Yeah.
of 20. Excuse me. And one of his dreams was to go to England and study math in a specific university. And he told me that one of the reasons why he cannot go is that we are so behind on our math subjects, on the way that we are taught math, and we are so used to being taught things that don't have a real purpose, that if he tried to go to university in England, he would have to do 2 years where he would have no summer vacation and would just study hardcore throughout all the summer to try to catch up.
Yeah. Um, if you don't mind, me adding on to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that topic, obviously people that are new to me, my existence, and don't know who I actually am. I obviously, like Alpha, live in Portugal, but I didn't used to for almost 6 years, and I lived in Belgium. So I'm also aware of how other countries schooling system is. And just the other day, I was talking to my best friend, and we were commenting about another close friend of ours, how bad like exactly the Belgian school system is. And you were talking about how there's like social like there's like big like if you're for a certain class like if from a certain like class you're basically fucked, right? And how if you have certain social if you're a social certain situation, you basically are doomed for your whole life. And in Belgium, it's even worse. And I say that because, for example, I'm not going to say his name, but a friend of ours, right? He in Belgium, you have 6 years of high school. You have 6 years of secondary school, whatever you want to call it. And so by the end of sixth grade, you have these, I wouldn't call them exams. They're just like larger tests.
Yeah.
It's just slightly larger tests. They're a bit more encompassing than usual. But basically, you have three options. You have this like B. They call it they call it BSO, which is basically like you're going to be a
Which is
civil,
BS.
which is like civil engineer. You're going to be a mechanic. You're going to be a like basically like blue collar jobs, as you said before. Basically like the lowest paying jobs. Then you have ASO, which is like doctors, scientists, all these big paying jobs, and then you have KSO, which is like artists, basically, which
Failures.
is
Uh,
and basically whilst KSO is like an optional thing, you don't have to go to it, right? Like hard to explain, but that's not important for this conversation. All
yeah.
our friend group achieve the ASO level, which means that if you're at ASO, you can choose whatever you want to do. You can choose to keep going in ASO, you can go to KSO, or to go to BSO. If you are in BSO, you are fucked. You can never leave it, from my understanding. I might be wrong, but you are there for the rest of
That
your
is
life.
horrible.
And again, let's remind you, this is at sixth grade, which means that you're about 12, 13 years old. Imagine at 13 years old being a kid, which is what happened to our close friend.
Jesus
Being a
Christ.
kid who had lots of issues at home, which could also pretty sure he has like ADHD and like hyperactivity and stuff like that. He has like, he's not the most typical kid in the world. And so he had a lot of issues when it came to like academically. He wasn't like a problematic kid at all. He was a very nice kid. In the beginning when we met him, he was a bit, but then he was like very nice, chill dude. But then he still at school was not the best. And we were talking in a group chat about like going to university and what we're going to do now because they have already graduated. And basically, he was there like, well, I've been working for the last 5 years of my life, and now I'm just going to keep working because guess who can go to university? Because if you have BSO, you can't even go to uni, by the way. So yeah, if you think if you want to talk about having a shit school system that like locks you into a role in society, holy shit, is it bad in Belgium? It is
That's
really bad.
that okay. That's inhumane.
Yeah, it's
Like,
insane. And I'll
that's
be honest,
legit inhumane.
I haven't lived there for almost like 6 years, so I these facts are a bit rusty. This is what I remember. Again, when I used to live in this situation, I was a kid, so there might be some facts that are wrong. So take everything I said with a grain of salt. But it is pretty much like this. All right, it is pretty
God,
much
I hope you're wrong.
no, it's I am like 90% correct. For example, I don't know if you.
Ugh.
I think you might be able to go into ASO, but I think you have to like redo sixth grade or some shit like that, or there might be a way to go up, but it's not an easy thing to do, regardless, right?
Yeah,
So it's yeah, it's crazy to me because I forgot that, honestly. I forgot that, and I was like talking, we were talking in that group chat, and I suddenly like it hit me, right? I was like talking to my best friend, I was like, oh shit, right? Like he's like I don't know what he wants to do like professionally in his life, right? But if he wanted to do anything that's like, more theoretical, like more if he wanted to like go into science or if he wanted to be a doctor, he can't. Straight up. At least not as long as he lives in Belgium. If he goes to another country and like studies, maybe. But like if he wants to stay there and do that, he can't. Like the system has been created towards that he can't do that, and that's really sad because he's my friend and I kind of fucks with you. It's like shit, dude. That's
that's
not fair.
depressing. God damn.
Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah,
Like, I don't. Oh God, yeah. That's the guys from the Trash Taste podcast, right?
yeah,
One of the points that stuck with me was they were talking about schools in Japan,
uh huh,
and they're talking about how children in Japan are they just feel sadder and more closed up when they're in their teen years. They're really friendly when they're like young children, but then when they become teens, they're depressed and don't talk to you.
hmm,
And one of the points that you were saying was, but I'm pretty sure that's because of school, because you can always tell the difference from when a Japanese teenager is in school versus to when he isn't. Because when he's in school, he's incredibly depressed, but
yeah,
when he's a dropout, he is not depressed, he's happy. And I'm just like, oh my god, that's terrible.
yeah, yeah,
Because this is basically our second home. School, at least for me, is the place where I spend the most amount of time of my waking hours.
yeah,
I go early in the morning and get out in the afternoon. A lot of the times around later the afternoon. And for a lot of people, school is the most degrading, violent, humiliating, social. Uh, damn it. Ah, missed
uh,
words.
I don't know, socially.
Scenario. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, okay.
Social scenario that you can think of.
And not just
Because
that, it's
you,
also for most of them, it's also in a lot of cases for some people, it might also be the only way for their family to have any sort of good life, which
yeah.
adds no
Like,
pressure
imagine
at all.
being a teenager going through puberty, which is horrible on your psyche, having troubles at school with your classmates, and having the pressure of being the only one capable of securing a high level paying great job,
Yeah,
high grade high pay high grade pay high grade pay level job, and having to juggle all of that.
yeah,
You
it's
can't.
horrible.
You break. That's why you have so many people and young teenagers nowadays facing so many depression related disturbances
Yeah,
because it's exactly that. It's extremely depressing.
yeah.
It's inhumane.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I wanted to say something
So
to.
screw exams.
Basically, that's where you wanted to
Yeah,
end it off on is screw exams because you just had an exam today. That's
yeah, I had my second exam this year and I wanted to die.
but yeah, I think it's a good point to end our podcast. We could write a blog about that. Yeah, let's think about that.
Yeah, I've been thinking of writing something about school for a long time now.
But yeah, to end on the off the podcast, it's gonna be our longest podcast probably. But don't forget to check out our Patreon. We have to say this every episode. Yes. Don't forget to check out our Patreon. We'll have if you want to support us. If you support us, you also get some good old treats in return. And the main one is that you'll have access to our private Discord. In our private Discord, you can directly talk to us, and you can also submit questions for our podcast Q&A. Obviously, since we don't have Patreons yet, there is no Q&A. But as soon as we start having Patreons, your questions will be featured in the episodes. You can, I guess, ask as many as you want. There's no real limit. Obviously, don't send 1,000 because it will only ask a few per episode. But
Yeah.
it's it's a way to support us, and it's a way for you to also have fun, and it's a way to make this experience engaging for everybody, including us.
Yeah, and for us to interact with us knuckleheads.
Yeah, and it's also fun for us to meet new people. I think that both this goes for me as well as Alpha. It's
Yeah,
we
as long as it's online, I'm fine.
it's like yeah, we enjoy doing all this stuff, but there's also I personally myself I love like creating a community, and I think that's one of the things I'm very much looking forward to having with Politdigm. Obviously, we're very much in the beginning stages right now, so we don't really have that. But yeah, we look forward to having that.
Yeah.
So is there anything you would like to say, Alpha?
Nope. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us, and see you next week.
Yes, and fuck exams. And we'll see everybody
Yeah,
in the next week.
yeah, that's right. Do fuck the exams.
Do fuck them. Fuck exams. Not in a sexual way though. In a
Okay, you made it weird. Just
yeah,
get the
yeah. That's all right. Thank you. Oh, shit. Yeah. Uh, I made it bad. Anyways, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.